All right, so we give praise, esteem, and honor to the living Elohim in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach this day. Pick this up in Proverbs chapter and verse 4. By humility and the fear of Yahuwah are riches, honor, and life. See, one of the things we were looking at with Balaam, and then I had forgot about this live stream this dude doing, and then the things that he mentioned has brought something to mind that is paramount and tantamount to what we're about to deal with this evening. And we've actually dealt with those matters in the past, and we'll discuss them again. But with that being said, Balaam didn't get the riches of Elohim because he sought the riches of man. This is where a lot of individuals get crossed up at, because they are more concerned with the riches of man and the riches of this life than the riches of Elohim. I told you before, the riches of this life, they're paramount. So you could floss with them. As I told you before, there's nothing wrong with seeking the desire to increase yourself financially, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with fiat currency, money that's not even real. That junk ain't even real. So at the end of the day, individuals is losing their soul for things that are not even actually tangible. But I want you to come over here to Psalms 45 and 1 before we come over here to Proverbs 11, because this is the verse I was talking about, and this is the verse that I want. But Psalms 45 and 1. Be quiet. Be quiet or go to your room. You've made your decision. Psalms 45 and 1. My heart is inditing a good matter. I speak of the things which I have made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. You are fairer than the sons of men. Grace is poured into your lips. Therefore, Elohim hath baruched you forever. Gird your sword upon your thigh, O most mighty, with your esteem and your majesty. And in your majesty ride prosperously. Because of shalom, man. Because of the truth, meekness, righteousness, and your right hand shall teach you terrible things. I want you to come over here. You know what? Make it Proverbs 11 and 1 to do it like that. I think we didn't discuss this stuff already in Proverbs 11. Well, I know we had, because we done been around here a time or two. A time or two. Proverbs 11 and 1. Give me one moment, please. Let's proceed. A false balance is an abomination to Yahuwah, but a just weight is his delight. When you look at, of course, you know that is balance. That is Mozan, that is Meme, that is Aleph, that is Zayin, and that is Noon. You know, a lot of individuals, what you had going on with Balaam, see, that's a false balance. Y'all know what a false balance is in layman's terms, right? To keep it very simple and direct. Y'all know what to have a false balance is, right? To have a false balance means that you are improper in judgment. Just like what we read last night about not having respect to persons, not taking gifts or rewards. See, a lot of people look at, a lot of people get thrown at us. Let's just use it in the terms of modern times. People will say, oh, that's a double standard. See, there is no double standards. There's just a just weight and a just balance. Because yes, a man can't do certain things. A woman can't do certain things. That's just what it is. Just like a child can't do certain things. And you can't try to hold a standard to one person and then not hold it to. See, a double standard would be if a woman doesn't die for a husband, she's not going to hell. If there was an opportunity for her to deliver her husband from death, she is not going to be punished eternally if she chooses not to sacrifice herself. That is not required of her. That is not required for her to do that. The text does not require a woman to sacrifice her life for her husband. The word requires her to reverence her husband and to obey him in everything. That's what the word requires her to do. The reason why I mention this, why it's required of a man, because we've already dealt with that verse in Proverbs, that if you have the ability to deliver those and you don't do it, that man say he will require that of you. Because it is a man's responsibility as ordained from Elohim to sacrifice his life for his wife. If he does not do it, he's going to hell. See, now, if you went to somebody in this present world, they would say that that is a double standard, would you not? Why can't it be equal? Why both can't do it? There's no equal. There's no two equal things in the earth. That's not what happens. That's not how that goes. Because a man is not required to obey his wife. He's not going to go to hell if he doesn't obey his wife. Well, I'm mentioning this here because you live in a world of Satanism. You live in a world of humanism, and you live in a world of idolatry, which is seeking to do exactly what we had discussed a couple of days ago, what happened during the time of Noah. They're seeking to corrupt the way of Yahuwah upon the earth and causing you to say what is good is evil and what is evil is good. Matter of fact, since I mentioned that, come to Isaiah chapter 5 for those who may not be aware of where I'm taking that from. Malik, be quiet. That's Songs of Solomon. I knew that wasn't right. Where do I desire to begin? Isaiah 5 and 13. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge. Now, let's pause for a moment and just let that resonate into your brain. This man said that you have gone into captivity because you have no knowledge. I want to just reiterate some things that you may know, but you may have forgotten. Allah is the word for captivity, and it literally means to be in exile or to be taken or carried away into exile. So you have gone into captivity because you lack the God or the knowledge of Elohim. See, now, what does that mean? Of course, you know, if you commit sin, then you are what? You are the servant of sin, or you are exiled from Elohim. See, the things that allows individuals to go into captivity is because they do not seek the knowledge of Elohim. This is why Yahushua said, you righteous Abba, they have not known you. That's why they were in exile. That's why they were in captivity. That's why when they turned around and told him, he that commits sin is the servant of sin, he will not abide in the house forever because you are separated. And you're separated because you do not know the way of Elohim. You have to understand that the world is seeking to corrupt that. There's not even seeking, they have done it. It has been accomplished. Verse 14, I'm sorry, I didn't read all of it. Verse 13, therefore my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and the multitude dried up with thirst. And why is the multitude dried up with thirst? Pause. Come over here to Isaiah 55 and 1. Why are the honorable men famished? Let's look at famished. Oh no, that one they're different. That was a little different. This one here is dealing with when they, you could say, when they were going in the wilderness and they had no water to drink, and they were crying for water. Grandma, be quiet. Why do all of that when you could just walk to your mother and say, "Mommy, I'm cold. Can I have a blanket, please?" That's all you have to do. All that what you're doing right there is completely and totally uncalled for. That's not going to get you warm. That's not going to get you what you desire. All you had to do is get up and go to your mother and say, "Mommy, I'm cold. Can I have a blanket, please?" Isaiah 55 and 1. Ho, everyone that thirsts, come you to the waters. And he that have no money, come you, buy and eat. Yea, come, buy wine and milk, without money and without price. Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfy not, and hearken diligently unto me, and eat you that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in its fatness. Incline your ear, come unto me, hear, and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. Behold, I've given him for a witness to the people, and a leader and a commander to the people. Hey, if you're going to do that, go to your room, because you're not finna sit in here and do that. That's grandma trying to crank up. That's little Joe over there with whatever he does. Now I want you to think about this. Do y'all remember what Yahushua said in John chapter 7, verse 37? He that believe on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. See, this is John 7 and 37. See, what ends up occurring is you're without thirst, or you're thirsty because you have no ruach to drink, or as he said, my blood is drink indeed. So you have no waters to partake in. And when you're dried up in thirst, And it would be, as what he mentioned, a valley of dry bones, or you are dead in your trespasses and sins. When you look at famished, it is ra'ah, and that is famine, and that is hunger. That is Rosh, Ayin, and Ba. They have no desire to. They have no desire to experience the Son of Elohim, and this they in. And that's why they're famished. Do you not recall what we just read the other day? I'm Yahuwah, your Elohim. Open your mouth wide, and he'll do what? Fill it. Did we not just read how he described, told him to eat that roll and it was sweet to his taste? How we were talking about that manna? Did he not say those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, they shall be filled? See, this is the example of that on the opposite side here in Isaiah 5, because people do not hunger and thirst after righteousness, therefore they are famished. But then specifically, he said that the honorable men are famished. So when you look at honorable, it's kabod and moth, and this is dealing with men. So all the honorable men are men who are held in high regard, that they are famished or without the word of Elohim. That means some of your favorite Hebrew prophets and pastors and teachers and all that, those men are famished. And therefore, because they're famished, the multitude of the people are dried up with thirst, because they're going to perish, because they have no living waters to partake in, because no one is bringing them forth. Matter of fact, come to Jeremiah chapter 2 for that in that regard. Jeremiah chapter 2. You can pick it up at verse 5. Hey, little muffin. Jeremiah 2 and 5. Thus saith Yahuwah, what iniquity have your fathers found in me? That they are gone far from me, and have walked after vanity and become vain. So Yahuwah is asking you a question. See, pause. Come over here to John chapter 8, since we reading that. Yes, it is. Now, how long he shall be gone? Now, that is another question. Just get up when he does. Very well. John chapter 8 and verse 42. Hello, Abigail. Yahushua said unto them, if Elohim were your Abba, you would love me, for I proceed forth and come from Elohim. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Because you cannot hear my word. You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. Which of you convince me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? Do you see what he's asking him? What iniquity have you found in me, that you have followed after vanity and become vain? He asked them the same question. What iniquity have you found in me that you're not believing what I'm saying to you? See, that's where people come out, and we're going to look at some of this stuff again. It's going to cause us to go back, and when we were talking about an olive man, if you would, what this brother enumerated about why he said, quote unquote, toxic masculinity is good. Do you believe toxic masculinity exists? Do you believe that exists? Why do you not believe it exists? At least you're honest. Do you believe toxic masculinity exists? What do people say it is?
It's like regular men stuff. It's like if you tell a man they gonna wear nail polish, like she I was
Welcome.
Like it's always like you don't just let elders cry or
do you believe that men actually believe that a young boy, a man, should never cry? No, because I'm asking this is, have you actually heard men say this in real life and teach this to people, or are we going off a stereotype?
No, I heard one like
Do you believe toxic masculinity exists? Why do you not believe it exists?
I don't believe that a man is a man. Like,
what is a man being a man?
I mean, a man being masculine. If you're being masculine, it's over. So to me, there's no such thing as being over the masculine. I see. There's no such thing as over the masculine. I think men supposed to act like men. So I feel like if a man is a strong man, a toxic masculine.
Well, let me ask you this before I get to them two. What does it even mean to be toxic? It gets thrown around so liberally. Anybody can answer. I don't know, but I don't know what that means. Let me see what the definition of toxic is.
People like toxic.
That's what's going on. I don't know, because everybody say this is toxic. Well, he's toxic.
He's a toxic guy.
It says it means poisonous. It says a very harmful or unpleasant in a pervasive or insidious way. A toxic relationship. I don't know what insidious mean, don't you?
Get some words to know. I feel like toxic is a real thing. Like you can get a toxic friendship or a toxic relationship. It's just people use it over you. It's a real thing.
Is it really real, or are people just really wicked and they looking to call somebody else wicked to cover up their own wickedness? No, I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just asking this question. Do people say they're in a toxic relationship because both of these parties are wicked and one's just trying to say I'm less wicked than the other?
I disagree.
Go ahead, share your thoughts.
I disagree with that. I chose to be because prior to meeting you, I felt that I committed to and had a Soraya. I feel like as a man that I have to take and deal with responsibilities. Choices I make.
Now, I've told you this before. I'm gonna be honest with you. You didn't stay with her because you had a child with her. You stayed for her for other reasons. You might not say that on the surface, but underneath that, because you were dealing with that before the child was born. So you were dealing with that before the child was born. So that means you stayed there for something else, because you should have departed before you even inseminated her. You know what I'm saying? So there's other reasons. It's just the child reinforced why you stayed over there. You know what I'm saying? See, that's different. Because see, men, when they get in that situation, that's what you're allowing. So you never allow a woman to disrespect you in any shape, form, or fashion. She must be ejected. She has to go. You know what I'm saying? Just she has to go. That's nothing even to talk about. She has to go. You know what I'm saying? Because your masculinity is more important than keeping her around you. See, most of the time, and probably saying, if no man has ever told you to never devalue yourself or belittle yourself by allowing yourself to allow a woman to remain in your presence who finds it comfortable to disrespect you, that's why niggas stay there. Did somebody tell you, man, look at my nigga, man, that hoe got to go. You don't allow that. Guess what you're going to do? That's why I told y'all that the other night and in the past. If you yell at your son on a regular basis, when he gets older, he's going to think that it's acceptable for a woman to yell at him because he's not going to see her. He's going to see you. And he's going to look at her with the level of love, affection, and care that he has for you. And then he will allow this woman to disrespect him for many, many days. This is how a lot of women get beat up. Not that the man is justified by putting his hands on her, but he's going to become enraged because his mother emasculated him. His woman's emasculating him. He doesn't know how to handle it, and he explodes and lashes out. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff just don't be, oh, oh no, that's stuff. Man, look at man, if you deal with somebody who is a negative individual for an extended period of time, there is something else going on with you that has nothing to do with that person.
Yeah, stop leaning back in.
Do you believe toxic masculinity exists, Kalisha? I'm just asking your thoughts. There is no right or wrong answer. I'm just asking your opinion. Why would you say that? To you? But see, that doesn't make an individual toxic, if you would. It just makes them evil. I wouldn't say toxic, I just say that person is evil. But the reason I say that's evil because you were a child. So someone who could injure a child, that is an evil person. That ain't even got nothing to do with being toxic. That because you can't defend yourself. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? See, I'm trying to make a difference. Like you talking about a different type of situation. That nigga's evil. Because like to come in here and harm a child can't fight for themselves. They can't do nothing for themselves. And I don't care if they were 3 years old or 13 years old. You know what I'm talking about? That's a child. So you're just an evil person. Because see, what some people call toxic would more than likely be somebody who has negative character traits or negative habits, and it causes it to be an uncomfortable interaction. But a nigga abusing a child? Oh no, that nigga, that's different. Someone who's verbally abusive is an evil person. The reason why I say that because you have to be consciously aware of what you're saying, and you know that the words that you're saying are intentionally going to injure another person. So that means you're an evil person because as we all know, everything you say out your mouth, for the most part, people think about it before they say it. So for a person to consciously say malicious, spiteful, hurtful things on a person, that's indicative that is an evil person. When I say evil person, according to the definition of the word in our language, you are disagreeable. She's talking about men aren't toxic or evil. Well, shoot, you can say that for women. Because when it comes down to saying things that are verbally destructive, women have that market cornered. A man could never defeat a woman on saying something of that nature. The only way a man could defeat a woman in that nature is by telling the truth. Little Muffin, do you believe that toxic masculinity exists? It's a little tomato and a little herbal. I smell a little lemon. I think it is some lemon. It's definitely tomato and basil. I know lemons. I can't hear you, Mom. Do you believe toxic masculinity exists? You say yes?
According to the definition.
Why do you say yes?
According to the definition. People have made it that.
Oh, people have made it that.
According to the definition.
I can't even argue with that.
Oh no. Jump on that.
What's that?
Basically, when things that we're wearing.
About time. Okay, very well then. Where's Lee at? Baby.
She's in the foyer.
Oh, she's in the foyer. That's what you call it.
The foyer.
No, I didn't know that's what you call it.
That's a pretty accurate name for it. I'll go for it.
No, I'm not disputing. I just didn't know that. I just thought it was, hey, another living area.
I thought it too. And then when she said foyer, I was like, yeah, that is an accurate name for it.
I always imagine a foyer of having something like an arch.
Likewise. But, you know.
Hey. Do you believe toxic masculinity?
I thought dens used to be like
Yo. Hey.
Oh. You're not a den, right?
Hey, we've moved on. It's Deidre's turn. Do you believe toxic masculinity exists?
No, I don't. I don't believe that toxic masculinity exist because I feel like the way that they define masculinity and toxic in the same sentence can be attributed to weak men.
How do they define it? Because I'm not familiar.
Basically, kind of what Nisha said and kind of what Keon said, where they kind of term it or put it with men being men, misogynistic, bigotry, all that.
Hold on, pause. I'm gonna do that. Do y'all believe that most men are misogynistic? Y'all even know what it means to be a misogynist?
To hate women.
Now, Dap just mentioned that most men mean destructive behaviors being masculine. It's toxic masculinity. Sean mentioned that he's heard it's men that act like women, and Kira said it's being rude. That's not. That's a whole nigga.
Right. So you can't put masculinity
on that. But do y'all feel like most men that you've encountered in your life are misogynistic?
No.
Average woman in this society feels like if a man wants his woman to submit to him, he's misogynistic. Now they did because we discussed that earlier. Is that I said that because you got the bitter hoe club, and you know what I'm saying, you got the fat hoe club. They're the only ones who have problems with certain things that go out in the world because they can't get a man.
It's like what are you wearing?
Why do y'all believe that that is so? Y'all know why it's so, because they say girls. Who runs the world? Girls. Girls don't do nothing but run their mouth. Run their mouth. And I ain't talking about just the one that you can see.
I mean, I feel like we'll be back to answer that question. Just for the simple fact that, like, limited. They feel like you're not giving them a chance to do what they want to do, and then they end up like once they single,
alone. Do you believe toxic masculinity exists? Very well then. What about you? I know you did. You had several toxic niggas. I just want to see how you Now listen, right? I asked y'all this for a reason. Because the second half of the thing that we're going to delve into, number one, I asked you this because Yahuwah just said, what iniquity have you found in me? And as I've told you on several occasions, that the way that a man is supposed to conduct himself is representative of who Yahuwah is, and that what they call toxic masculinity is really their hatred for the Most High Elohim. This is why I asked. See, I asked all the women this here because the men gonna tell you absolutely not. There's no such thing. That is some sucker stuff. There's no need to ask them because most men are not the proprietors of such a thought process. Only simp niggas say, "Oh yeah, the toxically masculine men," because they think by doing that, that is going to get them the yams. But you know what they end up with? No yams, potatoes, Idaho potatoes. That's what they end up with. That's why they came up with this junk the other day, talking about go on friendship dates to convince men to spend their resources on a woman by taking her out on a date. But we were talking about this the other day because Kevin Samuels tell these women this, and I agree with it wholeheartedly, that a woman should never accept a date from a man that she knows she's not going to have sex with. Because regardless if niggas want to admit it or not, if they're spending money on you, it's because they want the yams and they expect it. That's why women say, why he feel like he got to get sex for taking me out? Because I just spent my hard-earned resources on you. You thought I did that because I'm just a great individual? You mean to tell me that you feel like in order for me to get to know you and spend some time with you, that I need to spend money to do it? And you think that I don't want nothing in return? You entitled, disrespectful, rotten bastard, eat, doodle, and die. This is how men feel. They're not going to tell you this stuff. Am I lying? Ain't no man around here going to take you out on no date because he just felt like you're just an awesome person. You know how hard niggas work for their money? I mean, this is the part that most people don't understand. You don't understand how hard a man labors for his work. He had to earn that. He had to sweat for that. He had to be tired for that. He had to sacrifice for that. And you think that he's spending that just to say, I took her out on the next day. Maybe she'll call me back. Maybe she'll give me a hug. Oh, no. I want some yams. I took you out because I found you attractive enough to have coitus with. And if you know you ain't want to lay with that dude, why entertain him? See, now I mentioned that because what did we just talk about the other day? What does Satan come at you with to get you to lie down with him? Resources. So if you know you don't want to be fooled up with him, then don't take what he's offering. See, that's what most women get. I want a free meal. You don't get a free meal. You don't get more than what you bargained for because you wonder why dudes get irate. And you be like, oh, I don't like you like that. But you allowed this man to take you out 3-4 times and you knew you didn't like him like that. And now you shocked because he asked you for some butt. And he done spent $400, $500, $600 taking you out. You think he was calling you and checking on you because he just really was concerned about what your day had going on? Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. No. No self-respecting masculine man is going to allow a woman to devalue him by saying, stay over here in the kiddie section. And if I desire to talk to you one day, maybe I will. He will not be there when you turn around. Only simps and beta males will allow a woman to put them there and then say, yeah, we're going on a friendship date. I just spent $300 on this hoe and gave her all my non-sexual attention, and another nigga gonna break her back when I drop off. Nah, man. Okay, Sean said, he said at his core, him and his wife see it as a cop-out to have a disdain for authority. I tell her like this, and I see, I'm telling you, like, you don't like a nigga, don't entertain it. Just say, nah, I'm good. It's better for you to say, nah, I'm good, than to deal with niggas. Go ahead.
I pay for my own stuff. Is that an issue?
Well, shoot, at least you're paying for your own stuff. He can't turn back around and say he dropped any resources on you. You know what I'm saying? That's called going Dutch. That means you're literally a friend, because that nigga's like this. That means that he is not going to allow himself to get played. But I guarantee you this here, he ain't spending time with you because you think you're great. But I guarantee if you called him right now and say, you know what, I'm feeling lonely and horny, come through the house, that nigga gonna be on the first thing smoking. I'm telling you that right now. You hit his phone right now. Sade say she definitely dated someone she didn't like before. Why? Why? That means you took advantage of his resources, knowing you wasn't gonna give him no buns. See, that's some dirty junk right there. That ain't right. But guess what? Your gender does it every day. Do it every day. And make jokes about it, that every woman got on her phone. How can a nigga peer pressure you to date somebody you don't like? Now you can sell that monkey crap to somebody else because I'm not buying it. Come on back over here to Jeremiah chapter 2. I'm moving on. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. She said peer pressure. Michael, y'all calm down now. Calm down now. Michael, let me ask you this here, Michael. Do you really think that bother you to think if he would come over there and lay with you? Do you think he wouldn't do that? You ought to. You ought to. How often do you speak to him? You think that nigga giving you all his non-sexual attention because he just think you a great friend? Men don't sit around and talk to women they don't like for no reason. Men don't want to talk at all. Nigga really want to talk to his own woman. And you think he want to talk to a woman that ain't his and he don't want nothing? She talking about her friends pressuring her to talk to the nigga. Oh, I'll give you a pass. You young and silly. How long on average at any given time do you talk to this man? No, I'm talking about the length of the conversation. 30 minutes, 60 minutes. Oh, those short bursts, but several times a week. I'm finna say, because it was 30, 60 minutes, that boy won't that boy for sure. That boy is a what you call it, a track and field runner. How do you feel about him giving you his non-sexual attention? Does that validate you? Do you like it? Do you care for it?
My friends are here. Outside friends. But I do consider
I don't care nothing about your friends being in the room. I'm talking about you talking to a man. How does that man who's calling you, does that giving you his non-sexual attention, one of the most precious resources that he has, does that validate you? Does it make you feel better about yourself that a man is giving you the one thing that is above money and for the average woman, and that is attention? Oh, so you really don't like him? So why even be friends with him? I'm gonna give you something. I ain't saying you ain't got to be friends with him. But ain't no man friends with no woman. He don't want nobody. If he don't want nobody, I mean he gay. Because I'm telling you, boy, if you got butt naked, he gonna be like, Michael, what are you doing? Why would you do that? We're friends. Oh God, he be like, shoot, I've been waiting on this for about 3 weeks. That nigga gonna whip out. You gonna be like, what's going on? I'm trying to tell you now. Come on back over here, man. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 6. Let me get these words for a minute. Who back there doing all that moaning? We still holding Isaiah chapter 5. What else it was? Proverbs chapter 11. Oh, thank the Lord. Of course, y'all know what it is. It is haval for vanity, just something that is just completely unsatisfactory. Let's continue. Jeremiah 2 and 6. Neither said they, where is Yahuwah that brought us up out of the land of Mizraim, that led us through the wilderness, through a land of deserts and of pits, through a land of drought and of the shadow of death, through a land that no man passed through, where no man dwelt. See, now let's talk about it. Didn't he tell you that though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, what you gonna do? But what did your forefathers do? A land of drought. Let's look at drought. Our children need to sit down, be quiet, stop playing, stop talking to each other. You ain't got nothing to talk about. You ain't got no reason to be playing. Stop being rude and disrespectful. Now, if you want to be rude and disrespectful, there's a nice loft upstairs, and you can go in there and you can put your face in the floor and go to sleep. And that means you will get no food. Because clearly there's going to have to be some consequences for your complete and lack of respect for this medium that we're in at this present time. I do not like it. It will not be allowed. Cease and desist. Drought. It is Saya, a dryness, a drought. Sod, God, and hay. And you can give me what you got. Shalom, Rohan. Sod, God, and hay. Yod and hay. Sod, yod, and hay. The word is spelled T-S-I-Y. Yeah, that friend zone. Only a lame nigga gonna let a nigga woman sit there and be happy with it. No grown man, ain't no masculine man finna do that. You think Yahuwah gonna let somebody friend zone him? No, that man gonna cut you off. I'm gonna put you over here till I'm ready to. See that people friend zone you all the time. Yes, ma'am. Dryness and desert. They do them just like this here. Oh, when I'm ready to serve you, then I'll come over here and be your wife. But see, right now, I got to go do this here. But when I need you, I'm going to call on you. You know what I'm saying? When I need some money, when I need a blessing, I call on my friend. You know what I'm saying? That's what people do. And I ain't talking about no woman now who do this here. There's men who do this. To Yahuwah. Woman can't put Yahuwah in no friend zone. Because you would need a man to teach you about Yahuwah anyway. He can't put you in no friend zone. Man, a woman can't put Yahuwah in no friend zone. But a man put him in a friend zone every day. I didn't tell you the women just do what you do to your God. Y'all know y'all done thrown a couple niggas in the friend zone before. Every last one of you. You knew you ain't like that, boy. You should have just told me. You repulsed me, nigga. You would never. What you mean it ain't right? Better be honest. Shoot, don't let that man walk around here thinking he got a chance. Go ahead and extinguish the flame. You would never. You won't sniff the yams, touch the lamb, play with the yam. You'll never feel them. Don't call my phone. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want to go to dinner. I don't want to do nothing. But guess what y'all do? Shoot, girl, I'm going to go get that plate. Then you wonder why he keep pestering you for buns. That nigga won't stop calling me. Always trying to have sex. Well, you done let the man take you to Ruth Chris. You done let him take you to here and there. And you think this man don't want no buns? Oh, you can't change that, my G. They gonna do that. You can't do nothing about that. All you can do is teach young men what not to do. Because guess what? People can only do to you what you allow them to do. You allow a woman to do you like that, you deserve to get drugs. I'm talking about through the mud, kicked in your face, teeth knocked out. I'm talking about all that. You deserve it because you allowed it. Maybe next time you'll learn to not be a jackass, but to be a man and conduct yourself like one. Sod, yard, and hay. What y'all got for me? Drop. The word is sire. It means drop. TSIYH. Dryness, drought, desert. Behold the journey of the word. If you don't sit your behind down and start worrying about getting in my camera. What may I do for you, sir? You sitting there looking like you have a question. Do you have a question? Huh? Oh, very well then. Anyone else? There's got behold the journey of the word. Behold that pathway of the word. What does sod mean, Muffin? See, that's what I would prefer you to do. You don't remember. It means the way. Do you remember what hay means? That means yes, sir. That means I would have to show them. Do you not remember? It means man with raised arms. You raised arms? Right. And definitely when you look at it, you can sit back and look at what it was. He say, behold the journey of the way, or you could sit back and look at it that the work of Yahusha is the way to lead you through the dry land or the dry desert. See, that goes back to what we were talking about when he said they were dried up because of thirst, because he was leading them through the wilderness and they were crying about that, but we don't have time to go through that in great detail. Now, what is that land that no man passed through, that he led them through the valley of the shadow of death and where no man dwelt? Of course, dwelt is Yeshua. That means where a man dwelt, remained, or sitted, or inhabited. What is this land that no man passed through and the land where no one dwelled? What does this mean? How can we rationalize this? Eugene, be quiet, son. It is a place, but it might not be the place you're thinking of. He did a work that no other man did. They would have not had sin, but now that I've come, they don't have no cloak for their sin. Now that is an interesting choice, but we got to look at it as a literal location where he calls them. Remember, let's look at it right, a land of deserts and of pits. Desert would be symbolic scripturally, law-wise, as what? What did they name it? They named it sin. What is the pit representative of? So let's continue. Then he said he led you through a land of sin and of the grave, a land of drought. So if it was a drought, which means what were they lacking? So that means they were lacking the Ruach HaKodesh. Then he say of the shadow of death. I already referenced that verse, did I not? Where does it known from? All your grandmas got the book open to it right now. I ain't read it in 10 years. And he said that he walked through the valley of the shadow of death. He would feel no what? And he said, what will comfort him? What else does it say? Besides still waters, he anoints my head, and my cup runneth over, and he prepares a table for me where? In the presence of his enemies. So then it says, after you go through this shadow of death, so you've established what that is, now there's a land that no man has passed through and where no one has dwelt. What is that land? Oh no. The grave. See, that's why I mentioned all you got to follow the pattern. So let's come to John 18. Was it John 19? I think it's John 19. No other man laid. After that, Colossians chapter 1. John chapter 19, we get straight to the point. Verse 30, verse 40. John 19 and 40. Then they took the body of Yahushua and wound it in linen clothes with the spices, as the manner of the Yahudim is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a sepulchre, wherein was never man yet laid. Be quiet. There laid they Yahushua, therefore, because of the Yahudim's preparation day, for the sepulchre was near at hand. So this is the point, because he had to go to a place where nobody, the Father had to take him through this here, the same place. Because remember what he asked, what iniquity you done found in me, that now you're vain and you've become vain, or walked in vanity and become vain. He said, I led you through a land of desert and pits. So that means he led them through the land of sin and death, because that's all that was going on, because sin and death reigned from Adam on to that very day. He led them through a land of droughts, because he said the Ruach HaKodesh could not be given until Yahushua was yet esteemed. And then he led them through the valley of the shadow of death.
Mark, go upstairs and use the bathroom.
Come over here to Colossians chapter 1. Now, what is all this entailing? Colossians 1 and 13 is sufficient. What is all this entailing? It's entailing that the truth, the meekness, and the righteousness. This is how he teaches you to honor your father. See, we're getting to a verse because we're talking about with drought, because you choose to get cisterns where there is no water. Have any of you ever tried to drink a beverage out of a glass cup bottle that had a hole in it? Yes. Do you understand how futile of an exercise that is if the hole is big enough for the water to expel itself faster than you can drink it? That had to be an unfortunate endeavor all the way around the board. Colossians 1 and 12. Giving thanks unto Abba, who have made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the Chesed and light, who have delivered us from the power of darkness and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have the redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created that are in Shamahim and that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist. He is the head of the body, the house, who is the beginning and the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have preeminence. Remember, we were talking about that last night, didn't he? Said, this is my, to let Yasharal go, this is my what? My only son. We read it in Hosea. All we're doing is trying to tie all this stuff in together. Let's come back over here to Jeremiah chapter 2, because I need to crank it up a notch. Verse 7, he said, I brought you into a plentiful country to eat the fruit thereof and the goodness thereof. And when you entered, you defiled my land and made my heritage an abomination. The priest said not, where is Yahuwah? And they that handle the law knew me not. Let me see that again. He said, the priest said not, where is Yahuwah? And they that handle the law knew me not. See, that go back to the honorable men of famine. See, they don't know him. And the prophets and the pastors also transgressed against me. And the prophets prophesied by Paul and walked out the things that do not profit. Wherefore I will yet plead with you, saith Yahuwah, and with your children's children will I plead. For pass over the isles of Shittim, and see and ascend unto Kedar, and consider diligently if there be such a thing. Have a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their esteem for that which do not profit. Now see, that's what we at as a people. The very thing that is your honor and esteem, you have changed it for something that you're getting no gain. And our people love to have it so. It's a lot of our people who are going to find themselves in a miserable state when they meet their maker face to face. You know what I'm saying? And that's not going to be ugly. And guess what? I've told you this for years, and I'll continue to tell you this. It will be your family. It will be your friends. It will be your colleagues. And some of you will have to slay them. You know what I'm talking about? You're going to have to slay them. That's none of you women. I'm talking about men who may have to slay their own mothers, slay their own fathers, brothers, homeboys, and all. You're going to have to put that sword to their neck and cut it dead off their shoulders. See, that's a hard pill for people to swallow because we overlook that. The text says that the righteous are going to judge the earth. And see, we only want to look at the judging the earth part. Be quiet. If I tell you again, boy, being you're going to have a problem. Now, you can look crazy all you want to. Try me and see if I'm one to play with. So this is my last time telling you. And you're going to get embarrassed on this camera and in front of all these people. Nevertheless, you know the only thing we only think about when you think the wicked going to get judged? You only think about the government. You only think about the world rulers and the entertainers. That's the only people you want to think about. You don't want to think about the kids you went to school with in the 6th grade. You don't want to think about you going to have to toss your grandma in that pit. You don't want to think about that. You know why you don't want to think about that? Because then it's got to be tangible that your people wicked and you want him to have a chance on them to have mercy. They made their choice. I told you years ago a nigga tried to play me with that junk. See, that's what wicked niggas try to come at you with. If they try to come at you on the emotional tip, well, how would you feel if your mama went to hell? I said, I'd be the first nigga toss in there. He said, how could you say that? Because she made her choice. So what you mean? He like, I can't believe you would say that. Well, that's what's wrong with you. Don't believe it, nigga. Take it to the bank. It ain't gonna bounce. You know what I'm talking about? Because you thought you was gonna have me go against Elohim for my mother, for my brother, for my father. I will not. That's what people try to get you to do. What the law say you're supposed to do if you caught anybody near the kin to you worshiping an idol? What he said you were supposed to do. You supposed to have been the first one to put a rock upside his head. See, that make people uncomfortable because now you have to look at that you got to judge people you love. But that's what he told you couldn't have. Respect the persons. So you ready to condemn somebody you don't know, but you don't want to hold your people that you love and care about to the same standard? You wicked bastard. See, all that goes back to what? That's a false balance, and that's an abomination to Yahuwah. But a just balance is his delight. Oh, no. If people want to hear that, see, then they tell you, see, you mean, and you just that, then the third. No, nigga, I'm a man. See, one thing this world done try to tell every man to do, especially when they having dealings with a woman, what's the number one thing they tell a man to do? Compromise. In this society, the biggest thing that they tell a man to do is to compromise. I seen a dude have a skit and he said he was a good man, and the woman said, how you a good man? Why don't you talk to her and open up more? Open up to her for what? We've already had, what purpose is that for me to do that? That doesn't benefit me, that benefits her. You try to say, well, you guys are walking around with all these emotions and this, that, and the third. No, nigga. If you got all that going on, who you supposed to go talk to? Hopefully you serve Yahuwah, you will go talk to him first. Then you will go talk to your brethren. Why would you bring man problems to a woman who has to look at you and admire and adore you and follow you? Why would you bring that to her? What is she going to do with the information? How is she going to be able to be beneficial and valuable to you in order for you to process that? Because they say dudes walking around with all these emotions. If a nigga's walking around with all type of emotions, that nigga's a hoe. He need to go talk to somebody. When I'm talking about emotions, I'm talking about the emotions, how they define it. Not that you're frustrated or angry or dealing with stuff that men deal with. You deal with those type of emotions, you need to talk to other men. What is that woman going to do for you? That's if you strip that all away and take all the stuff away that society tells you, what is she really going to do for you but other than be an ear? Do I really need an ear dealing with things that men deal with? Or do I need the support and guidance and vision of other men in order to allow me to process that so I can be the best version of myself? How is this woman really going to benefit and profit me to be a better man by sharing what I'm feeling, when what I'm feeling may be dealing with taking care of her in the household and being able to direct them properly? How can she benefit me in that regard? That's not no knock to no woman. Y'all don't want to deal with that anyway. Right or wrong? Do y'all really want to deal with that? Do you really want to pull back the curtain and really see the things that men have to deal with and the decisions that they have to make and then help him navigate through that? Do you really want to be a part of that? You have to really think about that. Do you really want to be a part of that? Do you really want to know what it really takes to run a Fortune 500 company? See, a lot of people say they want to have a successful, massive corporation, but do you really want to know what it takes to get there and how to get there and how it's ran and everything that goes into it? No, you don't. You just want to benefit from it. Do you think CEOs would go talk to regular employees about CEO problems, or would they go talk to other CEOs? Well, the man is the CEO of the household and his wife is his employee. So why would he talk to an employee about CEO problems? There's a reason why he's the CEO and you're the employee. You have to look at it that way. I'm not talking about just life. I'm talking about this period. Because what are they always telling men to do? Open up and share your feelings. I've told you this numerous times. You do that with other men. You have those conversations with men. You know why you have those conversations with men? Because on average, in general, of course, there's always exceptions. Women are not going to give you tangible solutions to what you're going to talk to her about. Men are, because if you come talk to a man and you be like, oh, I ain't want no solution, bro. I just want to defend. He gonna tell you, bro, if you don't shut your mouth and get out my face. You know what I'm saying? You mean to tell me you sat here and told me all this here for 45 minutes, nigga, and you didn't want no solution? Nigga, don't call my phone with this here. Don't come over my house no more. What was the point of this? These are the same people who will go to Elohim and say, cleanse my heart, save my soul. He say, when the people came to him and said, hey, man, how do we live forever? He say, shoot, I read you. Then when he tell them, they don't want to hear it. Man, you know, I can't keep no commandments now. You know, try to give me something else. Well, nigga, why did you come tell me this then? That's the world that we live in. Honestly, do you really want the head of the family, the leader of the household, to dump all his issues on? Don't you know the most beautiful thing to be able to know is that there were problems that the captain of the ship navigated and nobody on the boat knew it? Because you know what happens once he gets on that speaker and tells everybody what's going on? You know what the first thing gonna happen? Panic. Now you're going to cause panic in the people who have to respect your ability to direct them. There's a bunch of monkey crap. But you know what that is? They're going to tell you you're toxically masculine if you don't do that. When you're really being a leader, men are leaders. Leaders do not burden their subordinates with their problems. They have to figure them out in order to lead. You think the president go to his wife and say, baby, we're going through a lot of things with North Korea and China. What do you think I should do? I'm stressed out. But you know why that conversation is mentioned and all that there? Because most people are not dealing with any men who are actually in any position of authority or leading and guiding anything. Indeed, indeed, man, indeed. Let me finish this out. I did finish that, and I finished John 8. Let's come back to Jeremiah 2 so we can move on. We're in verse 12, Jeremiah 2 and 12. Be astonished, O you heavens, at this, and be horribly afraid, be you very desolate, saith Yahuwah. For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. When we look at hew them out, that is katsar. That means they have digged, they have cleaved, they have cut up into pieces. I want you to think about that. That's kat, sod, and pot. So what have they actually done by hewing them out cisterns that can hold no water? They have separated themselves from the way of the son or the way of the household. They say, I don't want nothing to do with that. So I'm going to be over here. So when we look at separating yourself from the way of the house, and he told you that he would build this temple in 3 days, and he referred to the temple of his body. Come to Hebrews chapter 8. Hebrews 8 and 1. See, what ends up happening is you want to cut up a body of flesh versus building this cistern that cannot be broken. Because he said you forsook living Ma'im or Kai Ma'im, and then you turned around and you made yourself a broken, cut up vessel that cannot hold water, which means you can't retain the word. The individuals don't realize that. You're making yourself to where you cannot contain the word. Of course, a cistern, if you don't know, is bore, bat, aleph, and raj. This is a cistern, a pot, or a well. So you see the strength of the son of Elohim, but you don't want that cistern. You want your own. See, that's the world that we live in now. I say, right? They taught all women to be independent, and they don't need a man. But all women bought it the hardest. Now, of course, there's reasons for that in the law, if you would. But I was reading the article where they got mad at Draymond Green for telling the women to stop complaining about the pay gap between WNBA players and NBA players. And he told the women straight up and down, you're not making the revenue to say that you want to make the money that he's making. He said, how about you do the work to promote your sport so people will watch it? Oh, like this, that, there, and the third. See, most of y'all are too young to remember this here. The NBA almost folded. And it almost folded before I was born. See, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird saved the NBA. See, the NBA used to air on tape delay. Do y'all know what a tape delay is? That means they taped the show and then delayed showing it hours after the game was played because nobody wanted to watch it live. Nobody wanted to watch NBA games live. It was that low rung of a sport in the late 70s and early 80s. Nobody cared. It was still trash. It was on there. They were close to folding. Yeah, they brought him in and it still didn't happen. See, this is the difference of what these women don't understand. No one is invested in a WNBA player. Nobody gives a damn. You don't follow them in college and you don't follow them now. See, the difference why I mentioned these men is Magic Johnson and Larry Bird had a NCAA tournament run. They ended up playing a national championship game against one another. Magic Johnson won that game. And these white folks know what they're doing. They sent one to Boston, which is an historically legendary franchise in the league, and they sent the other one to Los Angeles. Put these two players on opposite coasts, and they ended up battling one another in NBA finals in multiple years, which caused people to want to pay attention to the sport. See, they had players to market because people actually cared. Then when this is 1980. When Michael Jordan comes in, this is 5 years later. But guess what? Michael Jordan had a 3-year run in college. People knew who he was. They were invested in the player. You can promote players that people care about. See, I'm mentioning this here because these women are broken cisterns that can't hold no water. It's no different than what we're doing with our Elohim. See, you felt like you could be over here separate, but you still can be equal to this other person over here, so you don't do anything remotely close to what they do. See, people think that they Elohim, but don't do anything remotely close to what he does, you're that broken cistern that can't hold no water. See, that word don't stay in you because you forsook living water because you felt like I can do it on my own, but you got to give me the same that you get. How can a conglomerate that is subsidized by the league that they're disrespecting say that I should make $40 million a year like him when your team probably doesn't make $40 million in a season? So how does an individual feel like I want what you have, but I will not believe in you, I will not obey you, I will not follow you, I don't trust you, but you should give me the same things that you got because I come from you. But I'm subsidizing you because the breath that is in your lungs, I gave it to you. The animals that you eat and the fruits and the grains that you consume, I allowed them to grow. I subsidize and maintain you. And you have the nerve and audacity to look at me and say that you should be equal or have greater than me. Oh, that's disrespect. That's extreme disrespect. Come on back over here to Isaiah chapter 5. That is extreme disrespect. That's how we come at Yahuwah, though. We're in verse 14. Isaiah 5 and 14. See, it's just hard. You just have to use natural situations and circumstances for you to understand. This is how people really treat Elohim and think it's cool. I seen a dude compare D. Wade to Paul Pierce and say, why Paul Pierce get fired and not D. Wade? Well, the difference is that they want you to be a punk. But also D. Wade didn't get on live and have a bunch of punks around him twerking. Because I guarantee you, if he got on there with a bunch of punks on there twerking, TNT probably fired. Or they would all come up with this one here. We mutually agree to part ways. Somebody say, why y'all so homophobic? What you scared of? Ain't nobody scared of no sissy. But nigga, I don't want to see no punk. And I definitely don't want to see no grown nigga trying to encourage a 10, 11, 12-year-old boy to be no sissy. But see, that's the part what I'm talking about. See, these were men who said this, of the shaming language. Because that's why Lil Nas X said he wanted to twerk on tape. Because you told me I was going to hell, so I just went. Well, shoot, nigga. Thank the Lord. Burn, nigga, burn. And they got all these brews upset. What you upset for, nigga? You must have liked Old Town Road. You must have sang it in the shower. Played it in the car. You probably went and bought his album. Because you should have been mad when a nigga told you he was a Peter Pup. But Peter's for a living and don't even have the common courtesy to get that man a reach around. It's never not. I definitely had her watch. I don't know. Did you laugh? She didn't appreciate good humor. At all. Then they say, you love my beloved Virgin Mary? I think say you suck me. That nigga say, boy, how tall are you, private? He say 5'9". He say, I ain't know they stacked you that high. Where you from? Texas. He says, only two things come out of Texas. That's steers and queers. And you don't look like a steer. That kind of narrows it down.
I look like a steer, so that kind of narrows it down.
Bruh, it took me 5 years to watch the other half of Full Metal Jacket. I promise. 5 years.
Yeah, it's not good after that.
It's not bad after that, but man, look here. That nigga say Lawrence. That nigga say only faggots and sailors are named Lawrence. Oh, man, let me move on. That junk is funny, man. Oh, man, that junk is hilarious. 5 and 14, man. Book Isaiah. He said, therefore, hell have enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure. And their esteem and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoice shall descend into it. The mean man shall be brought down, the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. But Yahuwah of hosts shall be exalted in judgment. Elohim that is Kadash shall be sanctified in righteousness. Then shall the lambs feed after their manner. Waste places of the fat ones shall strangers eat. Let's look at their manner. It is deber. It is pasture or word or speaking. or an arrangement of a flock or a fold. Dalit, Bat, and Raj. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Dalit, Bat, and Raj. This is the word for manner. It is the verb. D-I-B-B-E-R, spelled Dalit, Bat, and Raj. Yes, and it means a fold, pasture, muffin man. Basically, these people are going to get rest. Because notice we just read, a hell enlarged herself, so the grave opened herself up. Why did the grave open herself up? Because people love death. Going back to you dealing with things that don't profit. So clearly you know that the son of Elohim has been hung. The son of Elohim has been sacrificed in order for you to have pasture to lie down. We talked about that in Ezekiel 37. We read that in John chapter 10. You know what that's about. I mentioned Hebrews 8 and 1. Let me read that because I did not. He said, now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such a high priest who was set on the right hand of the throne of majesty in the heavens, a minister of the sanctuary of the true tabernacle, which the Lord pitched and not man. So again, that's going to the point we were talking about the cisterns. So you don't want the cistern that's pitched by Elohim, because you would have to roll with Elohim. So you would rather make your own, which is going to cause you to eat fat in waste places, as we just seen in this Isaiah chapter 5. Verse 18, woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and sin as it were a cart rope, that say, let him make speed and hasten his work, that we may see it, and let the counsel of the Kadash one of Yasharal draw nigh and come, that we may know it. That's taking us back to what? At Luke 17 and 20. Well, they demanded that he showed them the kingdom of Elohim. Because is that not what that says? Because it literally says that, say, let him make speed and speed up the work that we can see it. Then the council will draw near, and then we can know it. Basically, we ain't going to follow it till we can see it. Verse 20, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for a reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. I should know what verse 23 is. What verse 23 is, Lil John? Oh, no, not this one. Listen to it now. Which justify the wicked for a reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. Who can tell me what this is talking about? I thought this would be easy for you. I thought this was a clear alley-oop. What was justify the wicked? Well, you know what justify is, right? That's a dot. So who is the wicked in this passage? Who was justified for reward? Remember, right? We have to back this up. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about? I can't grab all the verses. We need to get the book of Numbers or I'll be incomplete. But I'll do it like this here and I'll make it real swift for you. Number one, I just told you that verse 19 was Luke 17 and 20, right? That they were asking for the hastening of the kingdom of Elohim. Let's look at verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good. So Ron, you got it on the head. And good evil. Well, there's your Barabbas, because they called him good, though he was evil. And they said Yahushua was evil when he was good, because what did Pilate's wife say to him? Leave that righteous man alone. And they put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, because we got to get in that place of refuge. Pray the Lord. I almost forgot about that. So now we swing back over here to verse 21. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. There are your scribes and Pharisees there, because they thought they were wise in what they were doing. Because he said, if you had not had sin, then you would have not been able to see. But since you say you see, your sin remains. And of course, woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength mingle strong drink. When we look at mingle, it is masak. That is to mix, mingle, produce by mixing. Mean, sama, and ka. So you see what happens? An individual grab hold of chaos in order to subdue. Now, which justify the wicked for the reward. Sarantis mentioned it. I thought you would catch it. That is Judas, because they justified him with a reward. And they took away the righteousness of him, of the righteous from him. They took that away from the man by saying that he was a blasphemer, by saying that he was a malefactor. They stripped it from him. What we was looking at the other, let me finish Proverbs 11 because I ain't did. We was in verse 1. Do you see how false balance is an abomination to you who in a just weight is his delight? Everything we kind of looked at preceding that came after this was dealing with that there's a false balance. See, all the stuff that I mentioned and used the world as an example, that's a false balance. See, people like to say, we need a balance, but there is a balance. That balance is set up and ordained by Yahuwah. That's not anything that men can come up with. Verse 2, when pride comes, then comes shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. See, that goes back to when he tell you that the Ruach will be in you and it will bring to mind everything that he said. So you have to look at that. What is the integrity of the upright? It is Yashar, which of course you know is that which is upright or righteous. Yahusha is declared to be the righteous, and he is the one who will guide you. This is what we came here for. Verse 4. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. Because he said he did not redeem you with gold and silver or precious things from the vain conduct of your fathers, did he not? Did he not tell you in the book of Zephaniah that all the rich men's gold and silver would be cankered and rust away? What did he tell you by the Apostle James? That the same thing would happen to the rich. You rich men howl and yell, for you will be slain. That's why he say the rich, they can go ahead, woe unto the rich, for you have had your time. Let's come over here to Luke chapter 6 for that real quick. Six and 24. I'm mentioning this because all this go back to Balak. When Balak fooled, did he have a little bit of time? He got his consolation. They did. They offered him that sour wine. Luke 6 and 24, warn to you that are rich, for you have received your consolation. Y'all know what consolation means. I mean, you received your comfort. You can see that in what? The parable with Lazarus and who? The rich man. Say the rich man fared well. You got yours. Because you ain't gonna want to serve Elohim because you're not gonna want to forsake your lust. See, it's not even the wealth. It's not the money. It's the lust that the money opens you up to. That's why he tells you to labor not to be rich. Cease from your own wisdom. That's why he tells you this. That's why in Proverbs 30 he said, give me food convenient for me, lest I be full and forget Yahuwah. And what's the other one I'm thinking of? It'll come to mind. And that's why he told you to follow after righteousness and not riches by when Paul wrote Timothy, because he said men have opened themselves up to many hurtful lusts. See, it's never the money. The money is not the issue. See, a lot of people feel like it's the money. It's never the money. It's the lust that money allows you to fulfill. See, that's what I mentioned that to y'all the other night. Like, yeah, a nigga can say, oh, if a man, you'll never know because you never had that desire to be tried. You never had an opportunity to follow after that to know what you would or wouldn't do. That's why he said, give me food convenient for me. Lest I be full and say, who is Yahuwah? Lest I be poor and I steal and take the name of my Elohim in vain. See, it's real easy for us to say what we would do when your lusts and desires have never been tried and to be able to assess what you would actually do. And you would actually ask him to what? Watch and pray. Ruach is willing, the flesh is weak, and that you, and what did he say? That deliver us not into what? Okay, you better play with it if you want to. That's what that man told you to pray for. Deliver us not into temptation. Because if you get faced with that temptation, do you really know what you're going to do? Especially if it's a temptation you ain't never been faced with. See, it's easy to say what you would do with a temptation you done been faced with, but what you gonna do with a temptation you ain't never been faced with? It's easy to say, I'd never do that. Okay. Till the opportunity. See, you have to be careful about what you say you would never do. You have to say Yahuwah will let you know is this things that, oh, that's non-negotiable. See, I can look at if a man all he gets, oh, I'd never have sex with another man. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that that's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying?
That's not.
I'm not gonna say don't never say never, brother. Put it y'all with him. I'm pretty sure he is not going to allow that to happen. Amen. Indeed, Saran, it does magnify the character of the individual. I've already told you that money does not change people. Money brings out more of who you already were. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you before, women go to crack, she go to selling booty. Oh, she been looking for a reason to be a product of that. Because I've been around women who smoke crack ain't sell no booty. Ain't even run across their mind. You know what I'm talking about? Not damn time. Now, is it a couple of them if they found a dope man attractive and he shot him a good dub or 40, because she wanted to give him some booty in him. He ain't had nothing to do with the dog. I want to have sex with it, but I take the dog. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? So you have to know the difference. Like I said, the average woman walking this earth, man, look here, man. If it's 100% accuracy, I say if a man walked up and he had over 9 figures worth of resources, your wife is leaving you. 99.9% of the time. And how do we know this? Because 99.9% of women have never been approached by a man making that type of wealth, because those type of men don't approach women. Because they don't have to. Because when they walk in the room, guess what? If Jeff Bezos walk in the room, 95% of the people in the room know who he is. I'm talking about the rooms that he walk in. Not that you gonna know who he is. Room he walk in, everybody in that room know who he is for the most part. This man is worth billions of dollars. You don't think the rooms he walk in, don't nobody know who he is? Do you think he got to approach a woman and say, give me some butt? They already ready to give him some butt once they heard he was coming in the room. Because this is a man who has more money than anybody has ever even dreamed about seeing. It don't matter. It could be a woman who says I love black men. I'd never date a white man. That white man say, you want to come away with me? She's out. She's out of here. He worth how much? 100 billion. Yeah, I'm gonna holler at y'all. You know what I'm talking about? It was nice. Like, what Buddy did on Hard Night, what he did, he talking about, I'm not coming home. Play with it. You've never been faced with that temptation. That's what? A man who ain't never cheated on his wife, it's real easy for him to say he'll never cheat on his wife if he ain't never had no women throw no booty at him. Let him get some money and some status. Now all these women throwing booty at him, let's see how strong he'll be not to cheat on his wife.
Right, dude. What you gonna do?
That's just real talk. If you've never had women approach you and want to give you no booty, it's real easy to say, oh, I never do that. But now everywhere you go, women throwing it at you. What are you going to do? You've never been faced with that temptation before.
Come here,
See, it's real easy to say, I never smoke crack. You don't have a desire for it. So that temptation means nothing. But when you go to things that people have a desire for, but they just ain't never been afforded the opportunity. I just told Brandon this other day, he was talking about that nigga in that TikTok video he put in the chat who proposed to the homosexual. He told my boy, that nigga ain't never was no. I said, that boy been a punk. You don't go to jail and start messing with boys. You were messing with boys that had a desire to mess with boys before you got there. Now the temptation is in your face and you like this here. Trying to hold it together. Now you boy chasing. I'm telling you, man, that's just the reality of life. Anything that people do, you already had a desire for. You just were never presented with the opportunity to act on it. That's why he tell you, be careful, chase after righteousness. See, if you chase after righteousness, then you could be like how Yahushua was, that when Satan offered him that type of wealth, that means absolutely nothing to you. Because that wouldn't be something that you desire. See, when you mortify what you desire, then you cannot be tempted with what you desire. Because I've told you this before, and I'll tell you again. Satan knows what men desire. And he will tempt you with what you desire. That is what he will do. And then when you go after what you desire, he's going to throw his hands up and say, shoot, nigga, I just put it out there. I ain't make you do it. That's a real live buster. That's a real sucker individual. But that's what type of time he on. If it's things that you desire, Satan is going to use those desires against you to cause you to, so he can go up there and accuse you in heaven. And then you get your name blotted out when you go for it. That's why you have to chase after righteousness, faith, love, mercy, and all the things that the text tell you to follow after. Because then when you get tempted like Yahushua get tempted, you can say, get behind me, Satan, you're an offense to me. Because you savor the things that be a Elohim and not the things that be a man. That's what got Balaam in trouble. He savored the things that were a man and not an Elohim. That's why I mentioned this to you. The temptations work when you savor the things of this life. Because what did he tell you will cause your tree not to bring forth no fruit? He said the seed that fall amongst the thorns. What did he say would cause that tree not to bring forth no fruit? He said the deceitfulness of riches and the cares and affairs of this life. It's going to choke it off, and you're not going to be able to bring forth no patience. You're not going to be able to bring forth no joy. You're not going to be able to bring forth no faith. You're not going to be able to bring forth any love, no self-control, no meekness, no long-suffering, no nothing. It's going to choke it out. And then when the temptation comes, you're going to stumble. But if you allow that to fall in the good ground and you hear it and understand it and do it, and you bring forth the fruit, the temptation cannot do anything. I just want y'all to keep this in mind. There's a reason why Yahushua instructed you when you pray to lead us not into temptation. Because most people in this earth are not strong enough to deal with the temptations for the things that their flesh desires. See, it's better to actually never be tempted or flee from the temptation than to try to see if you can beat it. Because the book tells you to flee temptation, does it not? Don't tell you to sit around and say, I'm strong enough to beat it. Because this flesh is weak and it can overtake you and overcome you. So it would be better for you to remove yourself from the situation or to do as the Lord instructed you to do, to pray that you don't even be led to be tempted in the first place. Because we know that when a man is tempted and enticed, he's drawn away of his own lust. And whether you know the word or not, guess what? You still are dust and ashes, and you have a proclivity to desire to fulfill the lust of the flesh. That's right. That's what Paul told him. He said, you that think you stand, take heed lest you fall. So it would be better that you take heed to the word, because if not, you're going to stumble. Because Judah sat there and heard all that word. And when it was time for him to stand, he fell because he went after his desires because he liked money. Come over here to Numbers 22. See, again, right? Remember what he said. It's never the money. What did he say it was? The love. He never said it was the money. Money is what's the word I'm looking for? Is an inanimate object. Money has no power to do anything. But when an individual loves it, oh, there's nothing that he will not do to get it. And even more so of that, there's not anything that he wouldn't do to keep it. That's why he said, again, that is the doctrine of Balaam. Because Balaam taught you to do what? To go get that money, to follow after idols. Even though Yahuwah told you, don't fool with them niggas. But what did he go do? He went right on around them. I think we finished number 22 and number 23. Well, we might even need 23 because that's when he went ahead and did what Yahuwah told him. And then he let him know that that he is not a man that he should bless. Not a man of this, that, and the third. Look at what Balaam turned around to do again. I want you to come to Numbers 23 and 19. Because what ends up happening is Balaam comes through and he goes ahead and he blesses the house of Yasharal like Yahuwah told him to. Numbers 23 and 19. Elohim is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Have he said, shall he not do it? Or have he spoken, shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received a commandment to bless, and he have blessed, and I cannot reverse it. Now, when it says that he has received a commandment to bless, it's not in there. It just says, I've received a blessing, and he can't turn from it. See, when you look at that, you can look at that in that regard that Yahushua has received a blessing, and he can't turn from that. And he's not going to turn from it. He has decided to bless those of the house of Yasharal, and that is exactly what he is going to do. Verse 21. He have not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither have he seen perverseness in Yasharal. Yahuwah is his Elohim is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. Elohim brought them out of Mizraim. He had, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Yasharal. According to this time, it shall be said, Jacob and of Yasharal, what Elohim have worked. Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion and lift up himself as a young lion. He shall not lay down until he eat of the prey and drink the blood of the slain. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Balak said unto Balaam, neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all. But Balaam answered and said unto Balak, told not I you, saying, all that Yahuwah speak, that I must do. Balak said unto Balaam, come, I pray you, and I will bring you unto another place. Peradventure it will please Elohim that you may curse me them from thence. Balak brought Balaam unto the top of Peor toward Jeshimon, and Balaam said unto Balak, build me here 7 altars and prepare me here 7 bullocks and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had said and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. Now you can see that Balaam is a pure jackass. You know what I'm saying? A pure jackass. That is true, Saran. Amen. So look at this here, right? You said that you could, instead, this man said, I can't, he just asked him to come on another place so he could curse these people, right? And what does he tell him to do? Build an altar and sacrifice. Now, of course, this is where Balaam begins to drop a little bit of prophecy, and we're going to skip over that. Come over here to the 25th chapter of Numbers. You can't read. Numbers 25 and 1. Yasharal abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods, and the people did eat and bow down to their gods. Yasharal joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Yasharal. And you know who did that? You know who set that up? Good old Balaam, by telling Balak, come over here and let's sacrifice unto Yahuwah. Of course, y'all know what Baal Peor is. That's the Lord of the Cat. Yahuwah said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before Yahuwah against the sun, that the fierce anger of Yahuwah may be turned away from Yasharal. Now, of course, when you say take heads of all the people, that is Rosh, so you know what that means. Take the leader of the people and hang him up before the sun. Let's look at hang them up. This is to be dislocated, to be alienated, but also to execute slowly by exposure or impalation, to be hung or to be executed. So what does that sound like to you? Sounds like that steak. And you got Yad, Kuf, and Ayin, and you can make it do what it do from that. Yad, Kuf, and Ayin. So if he's telling him to lay the hands up so the fierce anger of Yahuwah can go away, this is the sacrifice of the hanging of Yahushua right here in your face. Dang, who called me at 10 o'clock? Clearly. Mm. When you look at that Kuf, you got sun at the horizon, light, circle, time, behind, back of the head, final, least. What would you say?
I was gonna say final.
You'll say final? Well, what are you gonna say for Ayin?
Final work of conversion soul. Shots trying to work of conversion soul.
Well, what you look at is you know the last work. He said, Abba, I finished the work which you've given me to do. You know the last work because what was his last work? It was for him to be hung. And why was he hung? He was hung up against the sun. So you know that's to the what? To the going down of the sun. Now let's look at fierce, because we talked about this not too long ago. Anger, heat, burning of anger. Because we just talked about what? That he had a fire that had been kindled. It is karon. You have kat, rosh, u, and noon. So what ends up happening is that the Almighty had to secure and separate his son, separate his seed, because these people have caused him to be angry. So he had to separate himself, going back to the Yikah, or alienate himself from his son in order for the anger to be turned. And why did this happen? Because Balaam went after riches to teach the children of Yasharal to worship idols and to eat things offered to idols and to bow down to idols, when the entire time they were supposed to be learning truth, meekness, and righteousness that they might honor and reverence Yahuwah. This is another example why it does not pay, as we were reading last night in Psalm 26. This is what happens when your souls get gathered together with sinners. This is why David said, I will not know a wicked person. I will not sit with vain persons or dissemblers. I will not do it. Because you're more than likely going to get caught up in their folly. I've told you this for years. They are going to catch you up in their folly before you catch them up in your righteousness. Because see, the reason why the word says this is because you're going to have to make a decision. Because you're either going to have to cut them off. And when I'm talking about cut them off, meaning not have very scant dealings with them, or they're going to overcome you with their wickedness, because you're going to take pleasure in it because you're constantly with them. That's just what happens. The man has already told you that he did not come to bring peace but a sword, but to set people at variance, and that's just how it goes. And we're not talking about walking around here telling people, you wicked sinner, and this, that, there, and the third. But the things that they engage in is the same way it said that the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, that their wicked deeds did what to lie? Vexed his soul. So then it's going to come a point is that if you know that people are around you committing wickedness and it doesn't affect your soul, what does that say about you? Because it doesn't say anything about them. Because they're in wickedness. They already know they don't care. But you say you're not. And if you can, and we're not talking about standing up saying, I rebuke you wicked individual, but it doesn't bother you. Because remember what he said, that you are worthy of death, who take pleasure in these things and take pleasure in those who do them. See, that's a hard saying. Yes, sir. That's a hard saying because nobody really broaches that and brings that to us. I heard a brother say on the stream they were doing, brother say women don't like to be told the truth. And he's absolutely right. And that woman is Yasharal. And Isaiah 30 tells you that. Now, he wasn't talking about Yasharal. He was talking about a natural born woman. But I'm talking about Yasharal. Because he said, on prophecy unto us right things, prophecy to us smooth things, prophecy to us deceits. And he said, you are children who love lies that cannot profit. So I know this people, they don't want the Amah, or the Moon. They don't want nothing to do with any of it. You would rather an individual come and tell you a bold-faced lie versus telling you the uncompromising truth, and now you're going to be have to face a decision. You either going to forsake the world or you gonna love Elohim, but you're not gonna be able to do both. Joe.
Hey boy, your pants up. Where you?
What you doing, Mordecai? You trying to expose the family jewels? Well, don't show your booty off to people, boy. You might show it to the wrong person and take you up on your offer. 25 and 4. Shoot, that's what you better tell them, boy. Don't never show nobody your booty hole, especially in India. We get Sodom and Gomorrah out here. Bring him out here so we can know him. Better keep your booty covered. Straight up. Them boys say bring him outside. We gonna do this in the street. Man, shoot. Fix your clothes. 25 and 4. Yahuwah said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before Yahuwah against the sun, that the fierce anger of Yahuwah might be turned away from Yasharal. So remember, that's Raj. So I mean, that's the leader of the people. He said, take the leaders and impale them, and the sin will go away. Our wrath will go away, because Elohim is not appointed to us to wrath, but to life through Yahushua HaMashiach, our Lord, because he offered him as a living sacrifice. Let's continue. And Moses said unto the judges of Yasharal, slay you every one his men that were joined unto El Peor. And behold, one of the sons of Yasharal came and brought unto his brethren the midnightish woman in the sight of Moses and the sight of the congregation of the sons of Yasharal, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So guess what that is? A simp. Because he brought up that thing and she should get spared, did he not? You bring this Baal worshiping woman to the door of the congregation. Please spare my old lady. I love her. Let's see what happens. When Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand, and he went after the man of Yasharal into the tent and thrust most of them through, the man of Yasharal and the woman through her belly. And the plague was stayed from the sons of Yasharal. Let's look at plague. When you look at plague, it is Madafa. It literally means a blow, a slaughter, a plague, or a pestilence, or divine judgment. You have meme, you have gamal, you have pay, and you have hay. You have meme, you have gamal, you have pay, and you have hay. Listen. Come on. When you got gamal, you have pride. Messenger, to lift, to carry, to gather, and to walk. So in this one here, we might say lift up, or we might say pride. But in this one, we're going to say pride. When we make this mean, we're going to take chaos. So it's the pride of sin. They beheld the word of Elohim, but they desired to walk in the pride of sin. Therefore, a plague had to be brought forth to the people to slay them. See, that's what we don't want to sit back and look at, why he's, and all of this is being done for you to learn how to honor Mashiach. That's what Phinehas showed you. Phinehas showed you truth, meekness, and righteousness. All in this action of seeing these two sinners walk up to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation while these people were worshiping Baal Peor, because the pride, you know the word of Elohim, but you desire to walk in the pride of sin. Therefore, the plague has to come upon you, which is death. And we don't like to have that conversation. I'm talking about this our people as a whole, because again, this woman, Yasharal, loves lies. That's what she loves. See, we know that the natural women love lies. It's more appealing than the uncompromising, blunt, and unpretty truth, if you would. Because the gentleman in the stream that he had going on, because I even forgot this dude was finna do a thing. He mentioned 5 components of masculinity. And those 5 components were this, or what he said, what 5 things that makes toxic masculinity great. The first thing it is masculinity doesn't fear death. Now, when we look at Yahushua, because we already know this here, we know he didn't fear death. Is that something that we all know that? So when you notice, why did he have fear of death? Why would he have it? Now, some people say, well, he said he let the cup pass. That's just the flesh. That boy was ready, though. He had already said, I must die and suffer and resurrect the third day. Again, we reference the verse, but let's go. 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy chapter 1. Oh, was it 1 Timothy? I think I was. It's 2 Timothy chapter 1. I'm looking at chapter 2. That's my bad. And verse 7, right? Elohim have not given us the ruach of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Be not you therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me his prisoner, but be you a partaker of the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of Elohim. That's right, he did go sing a hymn before he went up and died. He prayed continually before he went up and died. He had no fear of that. Remember what Yahushua told Martha. She said, I'll see my brother again on the day. He said, I am the life and the resurrection. Whosoever live and believe in me shall never taste death. Believe this. Anyone who serves Elohim, what did he tell you? Do not fear man who after he kills the body, that's all he can do. Fear him who can kill and cast the body into hell. I say fear him. Anyone who serves Elohim has no fear of death. How can you say that you're a man of Elohim and have fear of death? We've referenced it the entire week. Perfect love casts out fear. Fear have torment, and you were always subject to bondage because of your fear of death. And this is why it behooved him to be made light unto his brethren after the seed of Abraham, that he might destroy him that had power over death. That is the devil. There is no fear to be had. The next thing he said is masculinity is defined by sacrifice. Well, you already know. This is how we know that Yahushua is the greatest man who ever lived. Because not only did he have no fear of death, but you're literally observing Passover. Christians literally observe their misguided efforts at observing Easter to acknowledge the fact that this man was defined by a sacrifice. You know Yahushua HaMashiach because of one key component. Just what you read in Numbers 25, that he was hung up before the sun to be able to turn away the plague or the pride of sin from the people. That's what you know him for. And because he resurrected from the dead, now you have an opportunity to be a part of the household of Elohim. That's what he's defined by. If you say Jesus Yahushua, first people going to know is you know this man offered his life. The third thing it says is masculinity does not respect weakness. Now, see, now when we look at the text, we have to look at weakness in a different fashion. You're not weak if you're weak and humbling yourselves to Elohim. Well, you're weak according to the text if you yield to the flesh. You're weak according to the text if you yield to the world. And does Elohim respect anyone who yields to the flesh and yields to the world? Well, we just read that in Jeremiah 2 and Isaiah 5. No, he does not. Matter of fact, 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 34 tells you that whosoever rejects Elohim shall be lightly esteemed. The next thing is that masculinity demands respect. Remember what Yahushua said in Luke 18, I believe? That he is what? An austere man. That means very harsh. Rigid. Do you know the definition of rigid? Do you know the definition of rigid, Michael? No, not necessarily. Y'all know the definition of rigid? Monica, Taylor, y'all know the definition of rigid? Gentlemen, do you know the definition of rigid? What's that, Rohan? No, rigid means it can't be bended, can't be compromised. No, he didn't have a fear. Now that one, Rohan, we read it the other day. He was doing what was written of him. And it's contained in Jeremiah 49 about those who have assuredly stated that they will not drink the cup, they shall surely drink it. Now, the aspect of him being exceedingly sorrowful and unto death was the fulfilling of the text, because he was weak in the flesh but strong in the ruach. The inward man had a desire to die. The outward body desired not to suffer. That's why that goes to the point, and I don't understand why you would say that. That goes to the point of why he tell you that the ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak. Because the flesh does not have a desire to die. The flesh has a desire to fulfill what it wants to fulfill or to duck out. See, and I'm glad you mentioned that because it leads to this point. You're dealing with a masculinity of not being afraid to die, being defined by sacrifice, not respecting weak. See, the weak thing for Yahushua to do would have been to yield to his flesh and flee and not die. That would have been the weak. See, men who are weak will duck responsibility. They will make excuses for their lack of ability to execute the things that they need to execute, and that is weakness. That is not strength. It takes more strength of a man to acknowledge his error and the fact that he needs to do better than it is to make excuses and to flee from responsibilities and things of this nature. And that also goes back to the point of what I've mentioned before of the CEO can't bring CEO problems to his employees. Because at the end of the day, we already talked about this here, with all the consternation that Yahushua had going on, was his apostles with him when he actually prayed and spoke on it, or were they somewhere else? They were somewhere else because he walked off from them. He brought them up there with him, but then he walked. Now, there's a reason for that because he's the CEO. He's the leader. If you see weakness in the leader, you're not going to follow him. That doesn't mean that, because clearly you've seen he had a moment of weakness. You saw that. See, that's not to say that men don't have moments of weaknesses. It's not to say that men don't have moments of travail. It's not the issue of the weaknesses or the travail, it's how the weaknesses and travail are handled. And the last thing, I've already told you this before, the last thing any man should do is seek refuge in a woman. He should seek refuge in his Elohim. That's who he should seek refuge in. And then the text tells you that you ought to keep the law of Mashiach. What did Paul letters did he say the law of Mashiach was? It's in Galatians 6. Go look it up and you tell me what you find. The law of Mashiach. He said this is the law of Mashiach. Look it up in Galatians 6 and you tell me what you find. Huh? Say what? I can't hear you. Faith? Oh, no. Not to say that that's not, but that's not what it's saying in Galatians 6. You tell me what you find. You ain't even got to go that far in the chapter to find it. And when you find it, you tell me what it is. What is the law of Mashiach? If we're looking at when I just mentioned right that he was in a distressful state. You know what I'm talking about? Well, he was. Well, you can say it looked like blood when he was sweating. But Bears just mentioned it. Listen to this one right here. He say, brethren, this is Galatians 6. If a man be overtaken in a fault, you which are spiritual, restore such as one in the ruach of meekness, considering yourself, yes, you also be tempted. Bear you one another's burdens, so fulfill the law of Mashiach, which goes back to you love one another, and they'll know that you're my disciples. See, the men are supposed to bear the burdens of men, because who did Yahushua carry the burden for? The men. Because the men lead and direct women. Now, he carried the burden of a woman in a different fashion. We discussed that a few weeks back. But men are supposed to carry the burdens of men. Women are not supposed to carry the burdens of men. You're supposed to carry the burdens of earth. That's a different type of thing. Why you think it's midwives and not mid-husbands? That's not a job a man's supposed to help you carry. Woman's supposed to help you carry that burden. That's why you got more female doulas and midwives than you have men. Why? Because that woman can relate to that burden. That man can't relate to that burden. Have you ever met a man that can relate to the burden of your birth pains? Absolutely not. Huh? Say what?
Since today's subjects.
You ain't lying. Them niggas switching up. But a woman cannot relate to the burdens of a man because she'll never have to deal with them. And nor should she. We're not advocating that you should. What we're actually advocating is that you have the most peaceful, relaxed leadership that you possibly can have. That you don't not burden. Let's put it this way. How many of y'all parents burden you with adult issues as a child? Now, if you're thinking on that, did you have the ability to properly handle the adult burdens that were being dropped in your lap? And you know why you couldn't handle them? You weren't made to handle them. If your parents never burdened you with adult problems, then all you knew that life was good. You didn't know the things they were dealing with to be able to make sure that your life was good, and you weren't supposed to know. See, we got it in our mind that when it comes to certain things, we're supposed to know everything, and you're not. You don't need to know the intricate details, the ins and outs and the outs and ins of how things get done. If they're getting done, why do you care how they got done? Unless it was something nefarious, then that's a little different. But if not, hello, man. How are you? But if not, nevertheless, who's over there doing all that? Come here, little girl. Come here. Get up. Get up.
Trevor.
Get up.
Don't say nothing.
Why are you doing all that?
You want to get up? Don't say nothing.
So you want to go get in the bed? You want to go get in the bed?
Trevor.
Clearly you do. So you have two options, possibly three. You can be embarrassed in front of all these people. You can sit in that chair, or you can go get in the bed. Which one would you like to choose? Would you like to go sit in the chair? Would you like to go to bed? Would you like to be embarrassed? So what are you going to do? Are you going to go sit down and go get in the bed? What may I do for you? Get up there and sit down. What were we looking at yesterday that led us talk about that city of refuge? I can't remember. Does anybody recall? Because I don't recall. I don't remember. Nevertheless, we'll go around here and look at it now. Leviticus chapter 19, Deuteronomy 19, excuse me. Y'all willing to come to mind? I definitely don't remember. Deuteronomy 19 and 1. Yahuwah your Elohim cut off the nations whose land Yahuwah your Elohim give you, and you succeed them and dwell in their cities and in their houses. You shall separate 3 cities for you in the midst of your land, which Yahuwah your Elohim give to you to possess it. You shall prepare you a way and divide the coast of the land, which Yahuwah your Elohim give you to inherit, into 3 parts, that every slayer may flee thither. Oh, that's what it was. We were looking at something that had avenger in it. That's what it was. Oh, praise the Lamb. That's what it was. That's what it was. Come back to Psalms 8. That's what it was. That's what caused us to look at that. That's praise the Lamb. Psalms 8 and 1. Yahuwah our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth, which you have set your esteem above the heavens. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings have you ordained strength because of your enemies, that you might steal the enemy and the avenger. That you might steal the enemy and the avenger. Now, of course, that is not where we need to be. Of course, avenger is nakam, and that is one who takes vengeance, to revenge, to avenge oneself, to suffer vengeance. Vengeance to be taken for blood. And he says that you have ordained that he might steal the enemy and the avenger. There is an avenger of blood. That avenger of blood is Yahusha. So he gets very angry. I feel him on that though, because they definitely don't need to be burdened with that. I definitely feel him on that. Setting them up for things they can't handle. So, a slayer is Ratsak. That is someone who is an avenger, someone who has murdered, slayed, and killed. That is Rosh, Sod, and Kai. So you know that Yahusha is the way that separates. Just keep this in mind. We're in verse 4. And this is the case of the slayer. We shall flee thither that he may live, whoso kill his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in times past. Ignorantly is Balad Da'at. Balai is Bat, Lamad, and God, or Balay, excuse me. It means without, lack, unaware, no corruption. Of course, who hated not in time past, and Da'ath is knowledge. There was no forethought or hatred in their heart for the individual. 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse. We can pick it up at verse 5. Indeed. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. This is also Leviticus 5, committing a sin out of ignorance. But this one here is, you actually are not mentally aware that you're doing something wrong. Now, this is an individual who killed someone that wasn't your intent. Now, I'm going to put it to you this way. Majority of everybody in this room, for the most part, you slayed Yahusha and you did not know that that is what you were doing. Because you did it out of ignorance. It doesn't matter if you know, oh, you shouldn't have sex before marriage and do this and do that. Go ahead. He said, I pray that you didn't know what you were doing. He said, I want that you did it out of ignorance. I would hope that you did not do this on purpose. 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 5. Now the end of the commandment is love out of a pure heart, of a good conscience, and a faith unfeigned, for which some have swerved, turned aside under vain jangling, desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say nor wherefore they affirm. But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for the unkadash and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers and for manslayers. See, that takes us back to what we just read in Isaiah 5, didn't it? That you took the righteousness from the righteous of him because you sought to justify the wicked. That's why he said, many who teaching that law, you don't know what you're saying, you don't know what you're affirming, and you justifying the wicked and taking the righteousness from the righteous. For whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons. And if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine, according to the esteemed good news of the Baruch Elohim, which was committed to my trust. And I thank Mashiach Yahusha our Lord, who have enabled me, for that he counted me faithful, putting me into the ministry, who was before a blasphemer and a persecutor and injurious. But I obtained mercy because I did it ignorantly in unbelief. And the grace of the mercy of our Lord was exceedingly abundant with faith and love, which is in Mashiach Yahusha. This is a faithful saying and worthy of all exception, that Mashiach Yahusha came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am chief. So this is what I mean when I say most of you did it out of ignorance, because you did not believe. You had never heard the word to believe it. So therefore, that's why there was a city of refuge for you, that you could stay so you would not be slain. Let's continue. Back to Deuteronomy 19. We're in verse 5. Because how could you slay the Lord if you never hated him in times past? You didn't know him to hate him. Remember what he said in John 15? It was already referenced. If I had not come and did the works that no other man did, they would have not had sin. But now they've hated both me and my Father. Because now they done seen it, they know it, and now they hate me. Therefore, they can't go in the city of refuge. Matter of fact, let's get that. John 15. They can't go in the city of refuge. You could say that, but we don't really focus on the three cities too tough. More so, the three cities is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. John chapter 15. I'm missing page. Be quiet. Hello, that. John 15 and 20. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. And if they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. And if they kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. But now they have no cloak for their sin. He that hate me, hate my Abba also. If I had not done among them the works which none of the men did, they had not had sin. But now they have both seen and hated both me and my Abba. But this come to pass that the word might be fulfilled that is written in their law. They hated me without a cause. There was no reason. See, the other one in the law would have just said you didn't have no hatred for this man in time past. See, these people who know the word and then you hate this man, ain't no refuge for you. There is no refuge for you. Let's come over here. What it is, verse 5, Deuteronomy 19. As when a man go into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetch a stroke with the axe to cut down a tree, and the head slip from the helve and light upon his neighbor that he die, he shall flee into one of these cities and live, lest the avenger of blood pursue the slayer while his heart is hot and overtake him, because the way is long and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, insomuch as he hated him not in times past. Avenger here is Kaal. That is also someone who is known as a kinsman redeemer. Y'all know that word. That's in Leviticus 25. So the avenger here is the kinsman redeemer. Also means to avenge and to revenge and to ransom and to do the part of a kinsman. Whosoever sheds man's blood, by man's blood must be shed. So this is letting you know the avenger of blood is Yahushua, and he will seek to pursue the slayer. And that is a car Ratzak. We just talked about Ratzak, and that's afterwards. So we don't need that with our car. Now, we just talked about the hot part. That's Yakam, to be hot or to conceive or to be of anger. When we just read about the fierce anger of Yahuwah when he did what? To the heads of the people. Hung them up before the sun or impaled them. Now he said, but this person was not worthy of death. That is mishpat. And of course, you know that's judgment. So you got to understand all of us are worthy of death because all have sinned. But see, you sinned out of ignorance. So that's where the grace and mercy come in at. That's why I say grace and truth came by Yahushua HaMashiach. That's where that come in at, because you did not know. You didn't know. Verse 7, wherefore I command you, saying, you shall separate 3 cities for you. And if Yahuwah your Elohim enlarge your coast as he sworn unto your fathers, and give you all the land which he promised to give unto your fathers, if you shall keep all these commandments to do them which I command you this day, to love Yahuwah your Elohim and to walk ever in his ways, then you shall add 3 cities more for you besides these, that innocent blood be not shed in the land, for which Yahuwah your Elohim give you for an inheritance, so blood be upon you. He said, but if any man hate his neighbor, and lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally, that he die and flee into one of these cities, then the elders of the city shall send and fetch him thence, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. That's what we read last night in Matthew chapter 13. That he will send forth his Malachim, throughout the earth to gather all those that commit iniquity and cast them in the furnace of fire. And there shall be wailing, weeping, and gnashing of teeth. Because you thought that you could slay this man mortally, because you said, let his blood be on our children's children, and that you could shalom, and that you could run your behind in this place of refuge. And no, sir, you are sadly mistaken. You're not going to be able to run under the banner of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and the covenant which you who are sworn to them and think that you're going to be spared. Absolutely not. Verse 13, your eye shall not pity him, but you shall put away the guilt of innocent blood from Yasharal, that it may go well with you. You shall not remove your neighbor's landmark. We don't need all of that. Numbers 35. and 1. And then we'll slide on out of here. As you were speaking to Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, command the sons of Yasharal that they give unto the Levites an inheritance of their possession, cities to dwell in. You shall give also unto the Levite suburbs for the cities round about them. For those of you who desire to know what suburbs is, that is Midrash, and that's just open land, common land. The cities that they have to dwell in, the cities shall they have to dwell in, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle, for their goods, and for all their beasts. Oh, we don't need that. I need to drop down to verse 6. And among the cities which you shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which you shall appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee hither, and to them you shall add 42 cities. Now let's look at it, because this is where the refuge part comes into play. That is Miklat. It means refuge or asylum. You have Mem, you have Kuf, you have Lamad, and you have Tet. Mem, Kuf, Lamad, Tet. So when we look at the Mem, of course, we are going to say blood. But let's look at Tet, because we don't always deal with Tet. You have a basket, you have surround, you have contain, you have the store, to give in secrecy, snake, or generosity. But see, now you're looking at asylum, refuge. So we see the graciousness of the blood. You take that Lamad, and you see the graciousness of the blood of the shepherd. Or you could take shepherd, turn it into Adam, take that goof, make it last, and you see the graciousness of the blood of the last Adam, which is why you have refuge or asylum. And you not being appointed to wrath, and while you were yet without strength, Mashiach died for the ungodly, in order for that the wrath of Elohim would not rest upon your head, taking us back again to what we read in Numbers 25, how he took the heads of all the people and impaled them before the sun to turn away the plague. Because if you're impaled, you're going to shed blood, and the impaling of the heads was the graciousness of the Elohim in order to forgive the people. Let's continue. Verse 7 of Numbers 35. So all the cities which you shall give to the Levites shall be 48 cities, and you shall give them with their suburbs. The cities which you shall give shall be the possession of the sons of Yasharal. For from them that many you shall give many, but from them half few shall you give unto the Levites according to the inheritance which he inherited. You who spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the sons of Yasharal, and say unto them, when you be come over Jordan to the land of Canaan, then you shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which kill any persons unawares. So I want to look at unawares. It is Shig, Aga, Shan, Gamal, and Hay. This is a sin of error or inadvertence, an inadvertent sin, error or ignorance or unwittingly, which goes back to what we just read about Paul. He said that he did it out of ignorance. You say George Floyd should have an avenger? I mean, anyone who has been murdered is going to have an avenger. But see, but this is also dealing in our land. And this land is already defiled with blood. It was defiled with blood before we came over here. The purpose of the avenger, according to our law, was to avenge the shedding of innocent blood. Now, of course, Yahuwah always has an avenger. But also, you know, we look at George Floyd's removal in a different fashion than most. We definitely view that as a ritualistic removal for the purpose of causing chaos and upheaval. I seen a brother I know say that that CNN was reporting to get prepared for riots because they're preparing for an acquittal, and you niggas is easily played like a banjo in the deep south.
Nigga with 1, 2.
Well, nigga with 1, 2, because they know what to do to set you off. They know what to do. That's why they did all that last summer. You had back to back. But see, what ended up happening, it didn't work because the last 2 people that they used were men of low character. Gentleman who got killed in the Wendy's parking lot, he was drunken. They couldn't drum up the sympathy for him. And then, of course, Jacob Blake, the rapist, allegedly. Nobody could feel sorry for a man who was fighting an active case for taking vagina. They couldn't use him. That's why they kept reverting back. Matter of fact, they let Ahmaud Arbery float out of the way because they knew George Floyd was just a better usage in order to manipulate the emotions, thoughts, and feelings of the people. These people are masterful at what they do. It's all sorcery, it's all witchcraft. Now we definitely believe the nigga died. You know what I'm saying? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You know what I'm talking about? But even when he first died, they didn't trump it up off the top to get you emotionally enraged. Because you had people setting on fire police stations, man. You think these people would really let you walk up and set a fire police station and not bust heads? People not doing that. These people will run the military out here and crack your skull. These people done ran the military out there on their own people. So you know full well they're going to run it out there on some niggas. And on top of that, it wasn't even black people who were doing most of that stuff anyway. It was Caucasians. And it was trained and set up that way. So sometimes we have to look at, even in our anger, to see what happens to somebody who looks like you. But you don't allow anyone to manipulate your emotions to do something to make your situation worse than what it already is. Because if you notice, they've been broadcasting a lot of multiple shootings. There's a dude on my page. There was a black football player. There was 5 people in South Carolina. Why they not talking about this? Because he was trash. That's why. He's not a high-profile enough player for them to broadcast that everywhere. Nobody know who that is. Nobody care. There was allegedly a shooting in Texas where 4 people just got killed. I just got a notification about an hour or so ago. Now they talking about getting rid of handmade guns. Who making homemade guns out here shooting people? Nobody. See, they playing the game, and they know what they're doing. And you have to be wise enough not to fall for it. And see, it goes beyond crisis acting, Saran, because that's a cop-out. It's more of what do they call it? It's in my brain and it's escaping me. It's called a psyop. It's a psychological operation in order to be able to manipulate people, to push you closer and closer to worshiping the adversary. That's all it is. As I've told y'all this many times before, he plays on the flesh. Elohim seeks the ruach. Anybody who's of Satan is always going to seek to play on your flesh. Those of Elohim are going to speak to your inward man. And they're going to speak to the inward man according to the word of Elohim. There's a difference. That's how you know the difference between the two. But let's roll on. When you got that Sean, Gamal, and Hay, you know that Yahusha is the messenger, and he was lifted up to be consumed. He was lifted up to be consumed. Now, I'm not also wrong. I'm not saying that anybody should not be upset about George Floyd and what happened with all of that there, but you would have to realize something. Why do they allow you to see those things on national television and play them back to back to back to back to back to back to back? That's all emotional manipulation. Let's continue. Numbers chapter 35, verse 12. They shall be unto you cities for the refuge from the avenger, but the manslayer die not until he stand before the congregation in judgment. What does that sound like? That you have a place where you can go seek refuge at before you can stand in judgment. Well, the same way that the ark was refuge for Noah. Yahushua is refuge for us. And if that you are dwelling in the city of refuge, when you stand before this man in judgment, your sin will not be required of you. See, this is what happened with the man with Solomon, and he told him, if you leave from out of here, I'm going to slay you. See, this is another instance of the book of Proverbs when he says, those who wander out of the congregation of the living will dwell in the congregation of the dead. See, when you go outside the city of refuge, that is the same as what Peter wrote, that it was better for you to have not known the truth than to know it and turn from it. Why would you get mercy and leave out of the place of mercy? That's what that man did with Solomon. You were guilty of sin. You were given mercy and grace and told that you could dwell in this city all your days and live, and you left it to chase after a servant, i.e., to chase after the lust that you serve. It cost him his life. That's why a lot of people, that's why a lot of people can go to hell, because you heard the gospel, you went into the city of refuge, and you left. So you left, that means what? You didn't kill that man unawares. You knew exactly what you would do. Verse 13. And these cities which you shall give, 6 cities you shall have for refuge. You shall give 3 cities on the side of Jordan, 3 cities shall you give in the land of Canaan, which shall be cities of refuge. 6 cities shall be a refuge, both for the sons of Yasharal, and for the who? The stranger. That means everybody can get saved. And for the sojourner among them, that everyone that killed any person unaware may flee thither. If he smited with an instrument of iron. Like I said, we didn't talk about it before. What's that instrument of iron? The nails. So that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Iron is barzel. That is iron. That is utensils. Also harshness, the strength of oppression. Bat, Rosh, Zayin, and Lamad. So what do you know? That Elohim cut his son and chastened him. And you were out there what? Let his blood be on our children's children. He said, if you take that, you are a murderer. He said, if he smite him with a throwing stone wherewith he may die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. If he smite him with a hand, a weapon of wood where he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall be put to death. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meet him, he shall slay him. We already talked about that revenger. That's the Gaal. That's the kinsman redeemer. Yahushua is the revenger of blood. And he's going to slay every murderer. When he meets you, he going to slay you. Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11 and 4. We'll get straight to the point. But with the righteousness shall he judge the poor and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. And he told you in Deuteronomy 7 and 9, he's going to repay him who hate him to his face. So he going to slay everybody he come across that's outside of that city. He going to meet you and he going to pick because you a murderer. You killed him on purpose. You knew what you were doing. I mentioned it before, 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 23. This is the murderer. Right here. Here go your murderer. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 20, actually. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of our Lord and Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach, and they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse than the beginning. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness after they have known it, to turn from the Kadash commandment delivered unto them. It has happened unto them according to the proverb, the dog is turned into his own vomit, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire. Verse 22, Numbers 35. If he thrust them through suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without lying of weight. Enmity is hatred. Of course, you know they lied in wait to slay Mashiach. Or with any stone wherewith the man may die, seeing him and not, and cast it upon him that he died, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood. The congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, where he fled, and he shall abide in it until the death of the high priest, which was anointed with the Kadash oil. That means if a man went into the city of refuge, he had to stay there until the high priest passed away. And so guess what? You know Yahushua is the high priest. You went into the city of refuge when you repented, and you can come out because he died and he rose. That's how you can come out and not be slain. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whither he fled, and the revenger of blood finding without the borders of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood. Yahushua catch you outside of that city, and you ain't right, boy, you're going to hell. Because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession. So that these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations and all your dwellings. Whoso kill any person, a murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses, but one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Yahushua is the witness, and heaven and earth is the other. Moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but you shall surely put him to death. And y'all know they took satisfaction in Barabbas. You know, that's the sad part. And of course, that word is kofar, and that means a price of a life or a ransom or a bribe. But you know that Barabbas was a ransom. But that's the sad part of the society. Let me not even say society. The culture of our people now is that we take satisfaction in murders. Yeah. We take extreme. People say, I respect the shooter. For what? Respect the shooter for what? That nigga's wicked. Yahuwah don't respect the shooter. Yahuwah say, damn the shooter. Literally. You understand that? What Rohan just mentioned? See, this is the hardest part that none of us can determine. Only Yahuwah can determine this. That doppelganger, because I don't believe that person they locked up with the dude who had his neck on that guy. That's just me personally. That's just my opinion. You know what I'm talking about? But I don't know what was going through his head when he had his knee on his neck. To say you were intentionally trying to kill this person. To my personal opinion, I believe he was trying to cause some damage because you don't put those neck in between the nigga traps and think that that's not going to be detrimental to him. You know what I'm talking about? And he had to be one strong individual to keep that big old black man on the ground with a knee in the neck. I'd have got that cracker off me. Oh, they were holding his leg. I forgot. They were holding his leg. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, so yeah, he can. So you know what I'm saying? When you look at that from an outside perspective, you're gonna say clearly your intent was to do this man some type of harm. Because he's handcuffed and you're holding him down. I don't know what was going through that man's mind. Now we believe it's a ritualistic removal. So they knew full well they're going to hell. And everyone who signed that up to sacrifice, because you have to remember the time of the year that they sacrificed him. What time of the year was that, May? No, I'm talking about the exact time period.
Yeah, I think it was almost like a solid year. It
was around the time, because it was Gemini time. You know, the twinning for the Gemini and all that other type of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? But you know, they clip people at a particular time. You seen it was Easter, all of a sudden, DMX in the hospital. Oh yeah, that's right. That's good time. That's good sacrifice time. That's definitely for Gemini and Saturn and all that. That's a whole new one. Now we already at 2.5 hours. We went down that road last year. You looking at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Oh, you tired?
A little bit of both. What are you talking about? Ain't tired.
What you remember? DMX ain't even dead. Oh, he died? I ain't seen nothing say he was dead. Well, he was a good old Eastern sacrifice. It was Corona vaccine. That's what they say.
That's what they say. That's what the family say.
That's what I'm looking at. They say he's facing unchanged, facing they facing a difficult decision. Look at Master P. DMX overdose could have been prevented. Rap needs a union. A union, nigga? Yeah, I don't see no story.
Oh, I mean, I see some niggas posting all day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's 8 hours ago. Yeah, but sometimes niggas be ahead of the game.
I see sir.
Yeah, but I don't care about what a nigga posted. No, now they just got on here. They got him out of here.
No, it was a source that said it.
April 8th. What's the day? Yeah, they say he passed today. So that's a good old Easter sacrifice because on Easter. Somebody, all you got to do is you look at any one of them like I told you with Kobe. Kobe came up saying, "Don't check it out. It was for Pan." That's all you got to do. You go check it out. All you got to do is go check it out.
Get someone to sit down.
Somebody said, y'all wouldn't believe that tweet. And niggas, that's one thing, sir. If TMZ ain't said it, boy, if the Tammuz Network ain't said it, nigga, ain't happened. Tammuz Network said it happened, boy, you could take that to the bank, boy.
That's what it's Snapple?
I don't know, but that's what we call it. Close enough.
That's it. I thought it was true.
And in fact, and you shall take no satisfaction for him that is fled to the city of his refuge, that he should come again to dwell in the land until the death of the priest. So you shall not pollute the land whither you are, for the blood defile the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Remember that in Isaiah chapter 4? Yeah. That's why he's going to come through and shed that blood, because the earth cannot be cleansed of the blood till Yahushua come through here and shed blood himself. See, that's a harsh reality people want to talk about. Why you think that man coming to shed blood? The whole earth is defiled, other than inhabitants thereof. They've been shedding blood. The only way to cleanse the blood is to shed blood. Yeah, I seen that on Wikipedia, but Wikipedia don't count because you can go on Wikipedia. Yeah, you can go on Wikipedia and be like, he like men, and it's there. Yeah, definitely. Defile not therefore the land which you shall inhabit wherein I dwell, for I, Yahuwah, dwell among the sons of Yahshua. So hallelujah for Yahushua the word. We bless y'all out the house, I'll even name of Yahushua. I appreciate y'all time this evening as we conclude our services for unleavened bread. We thank the Lord for the word, for the provisions, for wisdom and understanding, for an opportunity to continually purge our hearts of leaven, that we might be an unleavened lump in Mashiach, that we might dwell amongst him in his kingdom. That continually not just wait till Passover or unleavened bread come around to purge yourself from leaven, but purge yourself from leaven every single solitary day, i.e. take up your stake and follow him and mortify your members that your soul may be preserved. Dwell in the city of refuge and live. Who are willing, we'll be back on our regular scheduled programming. Amen. Which is tomorrow night at 8:30. So, yeah. So, you who are willing until that time, what may I do for you, little one? Oh, you thought you was going to get in my camera.